Tanya, we're in the middle of Perek Yutes. We're on top is page Chafei, at the bottom is page 82, if you're following in the Tanya. We're in the middle of the page. Okay? The last thing what we were learning last week is that the problem with the people that sin, and as we learned, it's because of the Ruach Shtus, the foolish spirit. It comes into a person to think, I'm still a full-fledged Jew, as the expression, the Maimorim, Eidenu b'Yahadusei, I'm still a Yid, I'm 100% connected to Hashem. I sin. But the truth is, like we discussed last week at great length, every sin is idol worshiping. Every sin you do, you're basically denying the fact that God is present. God is watching everything you do, and in front of God's face, you're denying his existence by doing something he tells you not to do. So really, every sin is Avodah Zarah. So he says, by a person who sins, or by the Rishonim as he calls him here, but the problem is the Neshama's power, okay? The Kedusha, like we said before, every Neshama, because they're a descendant of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, every Neshama has inheritance of Avraham and Yitzchak, the innate love and fear of Hashem, just by birth. The problem is it's covered up, it's concealed. It's concealed by the body, it's concealed by the Nefesh HaBabish. And therefore, by the Rasha, that godly spark is actually sleeping. It's not dead. Remember, we spoke last week, the Rebbe said you never give up hope on a Jew, because the neshama might be sleeping. It might be comatose. It's not dead. And therefore, this is where we're up to now. In the middle of the page of Chafei, he says, but when it comes to the level of a test, like bow down to an idol or I'll kill you, which is not logical anymore. V'nogad nefesh, and it touches the core of the soul, lebchinas chachma shabbat, to the level of chachma, which is the highest level of the neshama that has this part of spark of God in it. He says, when push comes to shove, you can't make a mistake anymore. I'm still connected to God, because they're telling you to deny the existence of God. They're telling you to bow down to an idol. 1 second. It wakes up a person, it wakes itself up from the comatose state. And this level of Chochmah of the Neshama wakes up with the power of Hashem that's in it. A person could sin, yet it comes, and everybody has their own like limits. By a person will sin, but God forbid they won't intermarry. They won't marry a non-Jewish person. That's there. Some people would. And then sometimes push comes to shove, they're going to call him a dirty Jew or bow down to an idol. Then they'll be ready to give up their life. Today we have a different Avodah Zarah than we had yesteryear. Nobody's coming to us in America. I mean, literally not, figuratively 100%. Nobody is coming to us in America, to any one of us, and telling us to bow down to an idol, or else I'll kill you, like Haman did, or the Greek king did in the Hanukkah story. It doesn't happen. But we are bowing down to idols. In today's day, we have unbelievable amount of idols that are more powerful than the idols of yesteryear. People worship money. People worship food. People worship style. People worship their body. People worship their intellect. What do you mean they worship it? It consumes them. They're addicted to it. Today, people worship the golden calf, as it's called in contemporary language. The golden calf is worshiping money. The whole world, only money counts. Not family is not important. Yiddishkeit is not important. Money, money, money. You have to make a lot of money. People are worshiping food. Ooh, that's all you hear about, the food they ate and where they're eating, when they ate and what they ate, and clothing and sports and actors that's all Avodah Zarah. Is it bowing down to an idol? No. It is, though, bowing down to an idol. So sometimes the neshama sleeps through this. It doesn't realize what it's doing wrong. But if somebody will come to him and say, deny your Yiddishkeit, then they'll wake up from the comatose level and they won't be bowing down to the idols. And they'll be ready to be Meiser Nefesh. Kamesha Kotsu, like the Pasuk says, Vayikatz Kiyoshin Hashem, and Hashem woke up, so to speak, from his sleep, Lamed B'Nisoyin, that the Jewish neshama wakes up to the extent Le'amunas Hashem, with the amun of Hashem, B'li Shum Tam V'das V'Seichel Musagli, without any logic. You know, I want to say a mashal that applies today. People are not religious. So happens, not yet. They're not religious yet. They don't keep Shabbos. They don't keep kosher. They don't keep anything. All of a sudden, one day, the kid comes home and they want to marry out of the faith. And all of a sudden, the parents blow up. No, you can't do it. Question, why not? The same God, what's wrong with marrying out of the faith? What's wrong with marrying somebody not Jewish? They're wonderful people. The only reason is because God said so. Hashem said you have to marry a Jew. The same God that said marry a Jew says keep Shabbos, keep kosher, keep. So the kid turns to the parents and said, you don't keep A, B, C, D. Why do I need to keep E? It's all the same thing. But he says the definition of Mesiras Nefesh, and the Rebbe explains this in Ha'aris and Maimorim, in Basi Laganis and many things, many Maimorim. The Rebbe says there's no reason in Torah for Mesiras Nefesh, for self-sacrifice. There's no reason in Torah. Be self-sacrifice because it's not logical. The logic of the person who sins is affected by the Ruach Shtus. The foolish spirit affects the intellect, that even though I understand it's wrong, I'll do it anyway. I feel it's wrong and I'll do it anyway. That means the Ruach Shtus, the foolishness of the Nefesh Habamis, of evil, actually dominates that's what it says in Basi Lagani. It dominates the intellect, it dominates the emotions. That can be affected by the Ruach Shtus. When it comes to the Pinta Yid, when it comes to the essence, the Friedrich Rebbe writes in the Maimer, the Ruach Shtus doesn't cover the essence of the Jew, because over there you can't make a mistake. It's not logic. It's not emotional. Like the Friedrich Rebbe said the expression in Yiddish, Mesiras Nefesh meint, azay und nit anders. Mesiras Nefesh means this is the way it's going to be and not any different. There's no logic in Mesiras Nefesh. And therefore, Dr. Rebbe says, every Jew, even the comatose Jew, when it comes to every aspect of Yiddishkeit, intellect, emotions, thought, speech, and action, they're not on board. But this Dr. Rebbe is bringing out the greatness of the neshama. Why it's called Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam, the candle of God. Because every neshama, in the essence of the neshama, Leiv Yisrael Erhu, it's always up. It's always awake. But sometimes it gets comatose. It's put to sleep. So the avodah of the Jew, and that sometimes, it's very interesting. Sometimes a person on their deathbed wakes up to Yiddishkeit. Sometimes it's misfortune. Sometimes it's fortune. Different things wake different people up in different ways. Here, the Rebbe is saying when push comes to shove, that you can't make a mistake anymore, that I'm still connected. Then, this gaber ala klipis, this power of the neshama, this pintel yid of the neshama, becomes overpowering over evil, the taivas elam hazeh, and gets over the temptations of this world, beheted ubeisa, whether permissible pleasures, forbidden pleasures, but we learned before, still klipa. Shahurgal behem, that he was accustomed to do it. So what happens now? The limeis ba'em, he'll despise them. When the neshama wakes up, that neshama now despises all the evil that it did. And he chooses Hashem as his part and his lot, to give up Mesiras Nefesh and Kedushas Hashem. Okay? And he's going to say, even though the whole life they didn't live like this, the whole life they were Rishonim, were controlled by the heart, but there's a wake-up call. And this is a remarkable concept. We learned already many times, it says all over Chassidus, Mesiras Nefesh, which literally means giving up your soul. Chassidus explains does not mean dying for Yiddishkeit. Hashem doesn't want us to die for Yiddishkeit. Hashem wants us v'chai b'hem. Hashem wants us to live Yiddishkeit. What is Mesiras Nefesh? Today especially, Mesiras Nefesh is, we're not, if we keep Yiddishkeit there, the Russians are going to kill us, Hitler Yom HaShoah is going to kill us, the Spanish Inquisition. No. Nobody's killing us. What is the definition of Mesiras Nefesh we learned? Nefesh means, Chassidus says, will. There's many, there's a lot of psukim in Chumash that the word nefesh means will. Mesiras Nefesh today, the Friedrich Rebbe writes and the Rebbe writes, means giving up my will for what Hashem wants me to do. That's the level of Mesiras Nefesh. Mesiras Nefesh of a Jew, Mesiras Nefesh of a Jew means that I want to do something, I will not do it because that's not what Hashem wants me to do. That's Mesiras Nefesh. Whether it's in thought, speech, or action. I heard Rav Shalom Merazov told us, when we were Bachrim, he said to us that he heard from the Chassidim in Russia, he was also in Russia. His father was sent away and never came back. The Chassidim in Russia, when they were captured, and they were asked by the government, are you connected to Schneerson? Meaning, are you connected to Friedrich Rebbe? They could have said no, and they would have been saved. The Chassidim had Mesiras Nefesh, not even to be verbally separated from the Rebbe, and they said, yes, we are connected, even though they knew either killing or Siberia or beatings. That was Mesiras Nefesh, even in speech. Halachically, if you ask a Shiloh Torah, if it's going to save your life, yeah, for sure you could say it. Now, is it logical? Of course it's not logical. Because if I say no, I'll be saved, I'll be able to do more Torah mitzvahs. Is it logical? No, it's not even logical in Torah logic. Because Torah will say, listen, you could do more mitzvahs later. Mesiras Nefesh means I give up myself, my will, for what Hashem wants, without any hesitation, without any question. And it's in a way, like we said before, azay unit anders. This is the way it's going to be, and not any different. That is shaykh, that Alter Rebbe is saying here, to every single Jew, even a Rasha who lived as a Rasha his whole life. And that's what he says now. Avki aklipes gavru olav kol yamav, even though this Rasha, the evil, dictated his life, and he wasn't able to conquer the evil during his normal lifetime. Kamay Merazali, the Gemara says, Rishoyim heim b'shus libam. The Rishoyim, the wicked people, are controlled by their heart. They don't control the heart controls them. B'kamakim, nevertheless, Shabali de nisayim b'dvar amunah b'Hashem echad, when it comes to a test, a challenge in about emunah of Hashem, sheyisedos b'harei kodesh, that the foundation of this belief in Hashem comes from the level of chokhmah shebenefesh sholikish, from the level of chokhmah. Shabbat melubash erin tzabaruchu, which this level of godliness is revealed in the neshama. Then, what happens when that level of the neshama wakes up? All the evil, he says, harikol haklipis betelim umevatolim. All the evil becomes nullified and non-existent. V'hoyu klohoyu mamish, they become mamish, nothing like before Hashem. K'diksiv kol hagoyim ka'ayin negdoi. It says in the pasuk, all the nations are nothing before him, and it says, Kineivecha Hashem, behold your enemies Hashem. Kineivecha yevedu, your enemies will be perished, and they were going to be spread. They're going to be spread out all over the place. Uksiv, like it says, Kahamas deinig mipnei eshevedu, they're going to be melted. The evil is going to be melted like wax melting in the front of a fire. Or like it says, even the mountains will melt like wax. Mountains represents the strong powers of evil. So what's the Alter Rebbe saying over here? The Alter Rebbe is saying over here, the greatness of a Jew, that no matter what type of life the Jew lived, bottom line is, he has this neshama within him. He has this level of chachma. That level of chachma might be comatose. Not endormented. It could be comatose. The entire life. But all of a sudden, push comes to shove, the neshama wakes up, and then the evil as if it never existed. By the way, which is the ultimate level of tshuva. The ultimate level of tshuva, that all the evil I did is non-existent. And I heard this mashal many times. We mentioned in the past, a chicken is valgren sich in the blood, is rolling in the sand, and the wings of the chicken is full of sand. And if you want to go clean the chicken, it'll take you 10 hours to take everything off it, every kernel of sand off it and put it. But you know what happens? When the chicken decides it wants to get clean, it gives a flap at wings. It flaps the wings, and instantaneously, it's completely clean. All the sand is non-existent. He got rid of it all. That's a mashal of this aspect. When the person finally wakes up, and what makes him wake up? Push comes to shove. Either bow down to the idol, deny God's existence, whatever, or I'll kill you, and he wakes up. He wakes up to such an extent that the essence of the neshama is revealed within him, which, by the way, interestingly, is not revealed by the non-sinners so much. By the non-sinners, our intellect is revealed, our emotions are revealed, our midas are revealed, mashava dibur, my thought, speech, and action are revealed. The essence of the neshama, who has the essence of the neshama ever revealed? Sometimes in Yichida Shebenefesh on Yom Kippur at the time of Nila, sometimes if you're lucky, a little bit, a drop wakes up. But this person, and this the Rebbe is explaining the greatness of this Rasha when they do tshuva, and the ability that they have to do tshuva. Then 2 seconds they wake up this thing, and therefore, what does the Rebbe tell us? You never give up hope on a Jew. No matter how comatose the Jew is, so to speak, the Jew can always wake up in a split second. And in a split second, his essence of the neshama could be revealed. That nothing else reaches. There's a story about in Kalina who was once walking with Alter Rebbe. We're going for a walk. And Rabbi Kalina said to the Alter Rebbe, you see this chassid of mine? He has Gili Eliyahu every day. Eliyahu Navi reveals himself to him every day, which brings out the greatness of the chassid. And the Alter Rebbe said to him, that obviously they spoke in Yiddish, but he Alter Rebbe said to him that my chassid Binyamin Kletzker has in a weekday sim shalom gilui etzam and neshama, the revelation of the essence of the neshama, and he laughs at the other guy's gilelio. But that's super lofty. We don't have gilui etzam and neshama on a regular basis. Rare. But this Russia that woke up, and that's what how the Alter Rebbe is getting into the concept of Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam that he began in the beginning of Perek Yodes, that because the neshama is always flickering. Why isn't it flickering? Because it's covered with dirt, with junk, of evil. But when it wakes up, it's powerful. Okay, the top of page 50 on top, 84 at the bottom. This revelation of Hashem, which is in the level of Chochmah of the Nefesh, is so great and so powerful that God is to drive away, to divorce, to drive away, and to push away. The sitrach of our klipa, God that is now at this time, it won't even be able to touch him. Even the God, not only won't be able to touch the neshama, the intellect and emotions, it won't even be able to touch the thought, speech, and action. Of Amun and Hashem. I don't want to judge anybody, and you're not allowed to judge anybody, especially such people. But there's an interesting shaila that happened in World War II. The people, when they were running away from the Nazis, people were asked, sometimes they said they're not Jewish. They hid themselves and they said they're not Jewish. And because of that, they weren't killed. And they were saved. And many people were saved like that, by the way. Now, I don't want to get into, I'm not judging, God forbid, anybody whatsoever. They're all tzaddikim and gedolim and everything, everybody great. But the question is, are you allowed to halachically say that? Is a Jew halachically allowed to say, I'm not Jewish? By saying you're not Jewish, that means you're not Jewish. Which means, by the way, by saying you're not Jewish, means for those people you don't believe in God. And therefore, even though it's pikuach nefesh, even though you're saving a life, but the three cardinal sins, idolatry, adultery, and murder, you can't save your life with that. You have to give up your life. So again, I just said by the Chassidim, they took it even a step further. They didn't even separate themselves from the Rebbe in speech, even though halachic doubt for sure would be allowed. Okay, so he says, and the neshama wakes up with the samuna. Lamed bin Yisrael to stand with the test, to pass the test. Lemtze nafshe, afilu shalei lases rak eze ma'ase levad. Not even to do an action, a single action. Negen emunas Hashem, against Hashem. Again, lishtachavei l'avodah zarah. He wouldn't even bow to an idol. Av she'eina maimin bar klal b'libei, even though he doesn't even believe in it. Not to make a false statement al achdus Hashem about the oneness of God. He says avshem people leave his shavim, even though his mouth, what he's saying, it doesn't mean he really believes in God. He's just saying I don't believe, or I'm not, whatever. Like libi shalom b'amunas Hashem, his heart, and nevertheless he won't even do it. The guy sinned their whole life. Now it comes to push comes to shove. The guy can say, okay, you know what, listen, I really believe in God. I'm bowing down to an idol. By me, it's a joke. I have no intention of worshiping this thing. The Mesiras Nefesh of the neshama that wakes up will not even allow him to do that. And you see Chana and her 7 kids, the famous story, when the king said, okay, I'm going to drop the ring. Don't bow to me. I'm going to drop the ring. Just pick it up for me. And the kid said no. Are you allowed to pick up a ring if somebody drops a ring? Yeah, that doesn't mean you're bowing to the guy, but it would give the implication that he's bowing to him. And Chana and his 7 kids died al Kiddush Hashem. And it seems the kids were young, under bar mitzvah, under bas mitzvah, whatever age they were. Because that's the greatness of the neshama. What? 7 sons. No, I understand, but I'm saying they're under, This is called the level of fear, which is included in the natural instinctive love that every Jew has, is the natural instinctive love, shebenefesh u'lekis, shebachlos Yisrael, which is in all Yidden, shechefta v'retzeina b'tiva, that the will of the neshama, by its nature and its will, the davik b'sharsha, to cling to Hashem, or mekeda in its source, b'sharsha mekeda ein baruch shebepnei avezu, that because of this love, v'datzin zen, this will, that he doesn't, like the Friedrich Rebbe said, Ayid nishte vil, the Alter Rebbe said it, nishte vil und nishe ken sein nifred me alukusi yisbarach. A Jew not he wants and that he could become sub. Yes, Essie.
Yeah, I didn't get it. Can you say I'm not Jewish or no?
No.
Okay, thank you.
No, sorry, can't do it.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Rabbi.
And it's afraid by nature. Even to touch the end, the bottom of Avodah Zarah, the Jew doesn't want to have anything to do with it. She neges emunas Hashem echad, which is against the belief in one Hashem. Even in the external, forget the nefesh. The nefesh for sure, the seichel, the midas, the sure is not going to be able. But he says even in the thought, speech, and action, and not only in thought, which is higher, even dibur or ma'aseh, even with speech or action, beli amuna belev klal, without any faith, whatever in his heart, he's still not going to do it. What? Sarah 11, you asking something?
No, I pushed it by mistake. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Should be your worst mistake.
Amen.
Viva might believe amun is beleft klal. Meaning, so that the Rebbe finished this the Perek now, and out in Chav starts another interesting new concept without the Rebbe explaining in Tanya. But here, in this, after Yuches, Yutes, now the Rebbe is explaining how it's easy for every neshama, every person, to be connected to Hashem in thought, speech, and action. And Alter Rebbe explains why is it? Because every Jew, no matter who they are, has this neshama within them, and this neshama is bound to Hashem above logic, above anything. The problem is it's sleeping. It's deep sleep, comatose, whatever it is. But the second it wakes up, not only does it reconnect, evil doesn't exist, and even in any slightest connection to evil, which contradicts the existence of Hashem, this person wants to have nothing to do with it. And that's why in 1 second, like Rabbi Elazar ben Dodaya, in 1 second, the Jew can go from one extreme to the next. It's like they ask a question, we'll finish with this. How far is east from west? It says, Kirchek Mizrach Umayrav, the pasuk says until, like the distance of east and west, you should make our Avedas. How far is from east to west? The distance from east to west, all you do is turn around. You could be going 1,000,000 miles east. You turn around, now you're going west. A person could be their whole life in the wrong direction of Yiddishkeit, disassociated from Hashem, chas v'shalom. The person makes a U-turn, and he goes all the way back. And that's the koyach of every single Jew, no matter who they are. Okay. Good night. Have a good weekend. Monday night, the Mitzvah Shem, 8 o'clock, Parsha. Hope to see you there.